Welcome, Perennial Pride listeners. Thanks for joining me on this podcast. This is part 4 of a 4-part series that I'm doing to share a little bit more about the book I recently just released called Wealth Beyond the Numbers. And hopefully it's something that will be helpful for you as you're along your journey to getting freedom in your life and your wealth. And so today's episode is centered around what I would call seeing the good. And a lot of the concepts in here are straightforward, but sometimes difficult in our lives. We can get so crazy and life can feel, especially these days, there's just so much negativity going on and we get inundated with those sorts of things. And makes it hard sometimes to stay focused, stay positive, and keep pushing for your goals. So today I'm just going to share some basic concepts, some of you may have heard in some shape or form. And so they're probably good reminders of what we should be doing that we might not be doing today. And I have to always check myself too. And also just giving a different lens of how to view things, because especially as I think about it for our kids and how they're growing up and learning about some of the ways of thinking and how the world works, it may be actually causing them to have some additional stress that they don't actually need or benefits them. We may have thought they were good. So we'll go into that a little bit more. So one of the main concepts I like to share in this section of seeing the good is creating happiness, right? Because we all want happiness, fulfillment in life. And the typical sort of advice or thinking around this is that once we become successful, whatever it is in our lives, whether we reached the goal of our profession, our business, that's going to make us happy. And it's once we get to that stage and we get to that finish line, that now everything flips and now all that, pain and dislike for maybe what we're doing turns into pure happiness. And yes, certainly when we win a game or we finish a project that's successful and we probably have a feeling of happiness and joy and celebration, just like we see today in sports. Like they get to the end of their season, maybe they win the championship or World Series, whatever it is. And there is an elation to that. And we get that in our lives. However, what's just interesting through Sean Aker talking about the happiness advantage is that it's not just what you get to at the end that can make you happy. It's having that happiness along the journey, and that actually breeds success. It's not the reverse. Success doesn't bring us happiness. It's that happiness and enjoyment and fulfillment in life that actually drives us to be more successful because we're positive. We have a great outlook on life, and we're probably more drawn to more people to be around us. And so having that advantage, how he calls it, Sean Aker, gives us the power to keep pushing forward, seeing things for the good. And it all starts with just a simple thing of gratitude. We can often forget about all the great things in our lives, even in the basic things, like being able to open our fridge and see food there. I mean, some of the people in this world they're scrounging for food. And so we can easily forget about some of the very basic things in our lives that give us safety and comfort, and having gratitude towards those things are key. To me, it's really helpful to really focus on that, because not every day is great, right? It doesn't go exactly how we imagined, but we put in the effort and some of the outcomes we may not see. But remembering what is good in our lives, things that we are fortunate to have, or whether it be our health or having a place to live, all those sorts of basic things we can easily take for granted. Those things are good to be mindful of and be grateful for. And sometimes you just need to be reminded of those things, or even on a daily basis, to recognize kind of how good you have it, and gives you more fuel to keep pushing forward and strive for your goals. Especially in the world of social media and news, it's so negative. So we almost have to counter that with good things and pushing and almost filling our cups with good, nourishing thoughts, as opposed to all the negativity and controversy that may be sitting out there, or fear. And it's really a battle we face probably on a daily basis. And so really it's fascinating to think that our positive thinking can really help drive us through to success, happiness, and fulfillment in life. And it's not use these material things or accomplishments that do that. It's actually what allows us to get there. Now, somewhat related to that concept, this concept of scarcity versus abundance. We often grew up, certainly I was reflecting on this the other day, especially watching my kids grow and play sports, and it's about competition, right? Especially kids trying to get into school. It's about, fighting against someone else or trying to beat somebody else. And, it's supposedly a zero-sum game. I have to win in order for that to happen, someone else has got to lose. And I get that. And in some cases that is real and we have to, ward off competition. But I think a different way to think about this is also to think about how can we all win in this world, right? And have abundance. There's enough to go around for everyone. It doesn't mean I have to beat down somebody for me to gain. What if there's a way that we could all gain and find our own place in the world to benefit and provide value to others and hopefully lift up the entire tide, right? It isn't just we win and other people lose. And I think that's a much more positive in my mind sort of mindset that allows me to be open-minded, really, because when we're in competition mode, we're just trying to just beat somebody down and we lose sight of the fact that there's opportunities that we may miss because we were just so focused on beating somebody and winning. Well, how can we all win together? And then, and obviously in the world of life and business, it's hard to do everything by ourselves, and trying to go at it alone to win is difficult. And recognizing that we all come from unique backgrounds and unique experiences and strengths and skills, like how can we leverage that all together so that we in total actually win? How can we both win? And so it kind of segues into the concept from Carol Dweck. She's got a book, Mindset, the New Psychology of Success. And it talks about a fixed versus growth mindset. And, for fixed, you think you're not smart enough to do something. I can't learn that. That's just not who I am. And certainly there might be skills and talents that are just more natural for you that you would want to push on and develop. However, a growth mindset says we have the ability to learn anything if we really wanted to. We just have to believe in ourselves that we can do it and take the time and effort to learn it, to meet with others who maybe have more experience or can provide some insight to how to improve faster and learn a topic. But that subtle shift is really powerful because it really opens up the door of possibilities for people. And as they grow and build confidence and that's not that bad, I can learn that and I can do those things. It just breeds additional confidence and allows you to move forward. So I think you got to press on those sorts of things to kind of get our own way sometimes. We can talk ourselves out of great opportunities or pathways because we just assume we can't do it. Or we'll fix them as well. Well, I'm here to tell you that we're always constantly evolving and growing, and we have the ability to reach a crazy level of potential if we push ourselves and believe in ourselves that it could happen and be comfortable that it's going to be uncomfortable for a while. And you're going to fail and maybe and fall down on occasion, but that you can get back up. And as you continue to grow and build off of it, you're going to be even more successful and put yourself in a much better position to succeed and certainly have fulfillment in life. So how does this all relate to our personal finances? Well, obviously, when we're thinking about our finances, we kind of have to know where we are. And that's where we go back to simple assessments of, like I mentioned before, around looking at your protections, your savings, where you're putting money to grow, investments, how you're managing debt. And the most important thing in my mind is cash flow. So looking at those different facets of your life and really just having a diagnostic of really where you are. And they may not all be good and they may require some changes in habits, but knowing where you are is kind of, in my mind, the key to all this, because once you know where you are and recognize that you may have deficiencies and strengths for sure in what you're doing, at least gives you an idea of, hey, what are the good things that I am doing? Grateful for having some savings, or grateful for, minimizing my debt, whatever the situation is. be grateful for where you are, grateful you have a job, and recognizing that your financial position has a tremendous opportunity to grow if you're going to recognize where you are and then sort of pinpoint where you need to improve to grow and become better. But don't forget about what you have, right? Because, I say this to people all the time, and I sincerely believe it because I see so many people in different positions in their lives and good people. And, maybe made a mistake here and there, but I said, we've done the best. You've done the best with what you knew at the time. And now you just have to learn something different and pursue those things. And so that starts with understanding that, this is all part of the journey, and be grateful for the journey, because sometimes hardships are the things that really drive us to become better and push us to become better, because we want to do more on this earth and provide more for ourselves, our families, and those around us. So that's the first thing, is really to, you know where you are, and, you know, identify some areas that, are positive in what's going on, and then set the course for kind of what areas you want to improve and focus on. And so with that in mind, it's always good to have goals and shoot for certain areas and focus on even a few things. We can't do everything and focus on everything. It's just too much, just like anything in life. But when we think about our financial life, or even just general success, we can easily get trapped into a negative state because we just focus on kind of where we're not, right? If you go back to the initial part of this, is that assessing where we are, we can say, hey, here's the good parts, and recognize we have some way to go to get where we want to. But while we're in that journey, it's so easy to fall prey to, I haven't gotten there yet, or I'm never going to, or maybe you have a feeling I'm never going to get there. And we're pressing and pressing and getting even more stressed. And there's this concept through Strategic Coach, through Dan Sullivan, it talks about the gap versus the gain. And we can often forget about how far we've come because we haven't got to exactly where we want to get to yet. It feels like we're always trying to get there faster, right? We can be impatient. I surely can be. And so we just got to recognize that we're continuing to move forward, progress, right? Because this is a long game, hopefully, if we're on this earth for long enough, and we have a long game to grow and progress. And we can't discount those little gains that are happening, because sometimes you won't see them instantaneously, but even small little changes are something to be celebrated. If we focus so much on that we aren't there yet, it can be depressing and maybe even slow us down and say, we're not getting anywhere. We won't press forward and do some of the hard work that it takes to get there, because it's not overnight, especially around our finances. There's a lot to learn, and some of the dollars, you can't just have instantaneous winnings like a lottery. It sometimes takes some time. And so this requires us to stay focused on where we want to get to, and don't forget about where you came from before, and the progress you're making. Even if it is going from, I had no savings, now I got $500 in the bank, right? Even something as basic as that is helpful to say, hey, I'm moving forward and I'm going to get there. And, I'm mindful of the progress I'm making. And on that note too, is on that journey as you're progressing, I think this goes back to the fixed versus growth mindset, is that, there's a lot of ways to be successful and feel wealthy and create wealth. And it requires us to stay open-minded and to evaluate new ideas, because I think it, just like in anything else in any industry, that there's things that evolve. And the more you see, the more you understand, and don't just dismiss certain ideas and concepts, the more you're open to it, the more you'll see and see what's fit as good fit for you and what you're trying to achieve in your life. It's just like anything in life. Like the more you see, especially, you'll figure out what is a good fit or not. But sometimes there's a lot of things that people are just never get exposed to. They're just sitting in a blind spot because either they're not open to new ideas, or they feel like they don't have time to explore them. And I get those sorts of things, but if it's important enough to you, it's key to stay open-minded, be willing to seek out the truth from people and learn about them on yourself, and take that responsibility, because we can't just assume people are going to always have all the right information or have all the full information. So getting that and being open-minded to learning about new things will help really maximize what you're doing financially and then pivot when you need to, because things will never stay the same. Not every single idea is going to be good forever. And we have to be open to seeing if there's things that would be better or complementary to what we're already doing. So I covered quite a bit in this short little podcast, but hopefully I give you a little bit flavor of what's in chapter 4. And certainly if you want to, go deeper into it, read some more about it, you can go buy the book, Wealth Beyond the Numbers. You can go on my website, createyourpride.com. And hopefully you'll enjoy it and find it helpful and something that I think hopefully inspires you to continue along your own journey and path to financial freedom and doing it on your terms and on your sort of time frame. So hopefully this was helpful, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Perennial Pride Podcast. Thanks for joining me on this episode today. I really am grateful for you as listeners to the Perennial Pride Podcast. I hope you're getting some tremendous value out of it and hopefully pushing you along your journey to financial freedom. I put this podcast together really to help you get more educated around your finances so that you feel empowered to live the life that you really want. And if you like the content that you heard today or watched, then I would encourage you to go to my website, perennialpride.com. There's tons of other content there. And you can access my book, Wealth Beyond the Numbers. You can buy it there on my website. It's a aggregation of a lot of great tips and tools I've learned to not only build my wealth in my accounts, but build wealth in my life and abundance and joy, and something that has a lot of my experiences in the journey that I've been on personally. Hopefully that can be also of value to you as you sort of move forward. So thanks again for being a Perennial Pride listener, and we'll see you on the next episode.